Hey there, all things MSP crew. An exciting live stream for you tonight. We have Colin Knox from Gradient here to talk about their brand new product, StackTracker. But before we get into that, I wanted to let you know that on future episodes of the podcast, Justin and I are going to pick at random a post from the Facebook group to discuss as a separate segment to the show. So go ahead, post your questions, ask your queries, and who knows, we might choose yours. It's just another way that we're trying to involve the ATMSP crew and stay relevant to what you want to talk about. For those of you who don't know, Justin's ACES conference is coming up soon. I'll be there, and if you're an MSP interested in business topics, come see us. You can find out more information at acesconf.com. That's ACESCONF.com. Now, one of the things you guys said you wanted to hear more about in the 2024 member survey was operational efficiency. The first question I always ask when someone is asking me about operations is, what are you measuring? Too often I get blank stares. The other thing that I typically get is a laundry list of KPIs and metrics, sometimes from a two-person MSP. So to start, I would measure one thing: time. Time is going to wrap a lot of things up into it, but for the simplest of measures, that's where I would start. I would separate it into three buckets: billable work, non-billable work, and non-work. Billable work is good, non-billable work is bad, and pretty much so is non-work, although you're going to have a little bit of all of them. Billable is good because it adds to revenue. Non-billable is bad because it takes away from profit. Because non-billable work, and the way I classify that, is the non-billable work is the work that you're doing for clients, maybe under a managed services contract, so you're not adding any more revenue for it, okay? You've already sent the bill and already gotten, hopefully, paid for it. But there's always going to be a little bit of that. And then lastly, non-work tells you how much unused capacity you have. Again, not a terrible thing, but something you should know because it affects your efficiency. Now, a quick note: there should always be some non-work for learning, meetings, etc., so don't aim for zero there. The same with non-billable work. Because you have managed services contracts that you're doing work on, there's always going to be some level of that type of work. What you're looking for is big changes up or down so you can figure out what happened. Tonight's live stream is brought to you by GoZinta. Your computer should work for you, not you for your computer. GoZinta makes invoice payments simple and easy for you and your client. GoZinta connects your systems together to make sure you enter it once and it goes into all the systems that it should. To find out more, go to atmsp.link/GoZinta. Now, from EasyDmark, level up your domain security and email deliverability. Achieve peace of mind, reduce ransomware, business email compromise, email phishing, and other attacks. Becoming a managed service provider partner with EasyDmark is an excellent opportunity for your business to boost sales and increase revenue. Find out more today at atmsp.link/EasyDmark. Compliance Scorecard is the newest All Things MSP sponsor, and we're proud that they're here. Make compliance uncomplicated. They make compliance your way of doing business, not just a reaction to an audit or event. With insights and solutions tailored to MSPs, Compliance Scorecard streamlines everything from the governance management process to risk assessments and asset governance to help you meet the ever-changing compliance standards. So join me in welcoming Compliance Scorecard as one of our newest sponsors. Oh, and don't forget, after the show, head over to the IT Business Podcast live stream with Marvin B. He has the PIA crew on tonight for a party. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but it'll probably be cool. I'll be back in just a minute to get the live stream started. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of All Things MSP Live. Tonight, we have a special guest. This is a guest that I've had the pleasure of working with in the past and been able to watch him grow, not his first business, not his second business, but now his third business in this space. And it is really exciting to me to see the progress and also to see a new product coming out of Gradient MSP. Tonight's guest is no stranger to the channel. It is Colin Knox from Gradient MSP, and he's here tonight to talk about StackTracker. Hey, Colin.
Hey, Eric. How's it going?
Good, sir. Long time no see.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we can't call or count backstage before this, and then the podcast maybe we recorded a little bit ago, but actually seeing each other in person been a good while now.
Yeah, what I think it was a Channel Pro in California, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that was the one.
So yeah, it has been a while. So you've been up to stuff.
We have, yeah. We've been busy bees up here and just kind of working away, plugging away on the synthesized product and growing that integration base and the customer and MSP partner base, and then over into this new offering with StackTracker. Super excited to announce that this week.
Well, let's take a step back for just a second and talk about what Gradient MSP, what synthesized does for an MSP before we step into StackTracker.
Yeah, so synthesize kind of came out as this concept that we had of building an integration platform that would connect virtually any channel vendor or product through to your PSA. And the initial thing that we did on that was our billing module. So to help MSPs be able to just reconcile their billing so much easier across all of these solutions that they're reselling to their end customers, making sure that they're not missing a solution, making sure that they're billing the right quantity of each solution, and essentially capturing every single dollar for what they have sold and what they've got deployed, and making sure to avoid any of those situations where maybe they're overbilling and risking a billing complaint or challenge there.
Yeah, and as somebody who has done that by hand in the past, that is a huge benefit to MSPs reconciling their tools to the actual usage, because you can have a lot of drift and a big difference in between there that is going to affect your revenue.
Absolutely. It's kind of crazy how much revenue we've been able to uncover. I mean, it's not uncommon for us to find thousands or tens of thousands in MRR for an MSP of some just various services or underbilled quantities and things like that for a wealth of clients. And it all definitely adds up over time with that dynamic nature of businesses coming on board, taking new services, increasing their size. If you look at COVID times, decreasing their size. All of the different flux that's always happening.
Yep. And so Gradient has been known for taking data from different places, putting it together, and giving results to an MSP that are actually actionable. And so now with StackTracker, it sounds like you've done that again.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a full circle experience or situation for us. Is if you look, rewind 3.5 years ago now, when we first came out and launched the business, we talked about collecting and leveraging data for the benefit of MSPs and the greater good of this industry and helping them. And a key mantra for us was always built around the concept or the statements from various groups over the years that half of this industry, half of MSPs don't profit, right? You have the lower bottom quartile that lose money every year and sometimes significant amounts of money. And then you've got the people that are barely breaking even. And that's something that always stuck with me. I mean, it's one of those things where MSPs should be some of the most ripe businesses to be extremely profitable. And when you look at best in class, they are. And a lot of the reasons for that is their access to their data, their accessibility to business intelligence and business analysts and all the reports and things that most MSPs don't have access to. And so we embarked on this journey. We first came out with a data cleaning product because we started connecting to PSAs to try to show some stuff for some of our early access partners. And we went, holy smokes, garbage in, garbage out. And it is just an absolute dog's breakfast in any PSA. And so we came out with a data hygiene product for PSAs and started cleaning that stuff up. And some of that flew its way into and was inherited into our synthesized platform with the billing to make sure that we're looking at true services and working with accurate contracts and everything that way. And, as we've gone over the number of years now, building a bunch of integrations, learning how MSPs are operating, truly understanding that while a PSA or an accounting package is a great representation of what you're billing and what you think is deployed or what you think you're supposed to bill, it's often not very accurate, as we've seen from the billing side. Now, we also realize and recognize, as what we do, not every MSP bills out of their PSA. Part of that is because of how messy it is. And part of that is it's just, not maybe the best experience all the time. So the more MSPs that we've been talking to over the last, 2 years especially, has come up and up that, hey, I don't bill out of my PSA, but I've seen some of the screens in your product, and I would absolutely love to have that and be able to know X, Y, and Z. So we started working on ways that we could make all of that come together, and we wove a bunch of that into Synthesize, and now we've taken that up about 18 notches with what we've done with StackTracker here, and made it much more available to a broader audience of MSPs. So
awesome. So let's get into it a little bit deeper. What does StackTracker do?
StackTracker, so we frame it as the ultimate solution for growth-focused MSPs. And the way I would call it, or how I would categorize it, is, it's a reseller growth intelligence platform. It's all about going out and connecting to your various vendors and solutions and tools that you use and deliver to your end customers, and grabs in and gathers all of that consumption and usage information, and then is able to pair that with some, data grouping and sorting and filtering and stuff that we can show you here tonight. And then also pairs that in with the analytics. So being able to actually visualize for you true representations of what's happening with the reseller side of your business. So we're not all about service delivery. We're not all about tech efficiency. We're not all about automation and stuff. We're about empowering the MSP to tune their business to profitability based on all the solutions and that stack that they're reselling to their various clients. So on one hand, we're able to really show analytics and performance and trending and all of that. But with our categorization stuff, with the other information of how we're able to pull things together, we're able to, one, give you not just an immediately in real-time optimized upsell or cross-sell opportunity list, but also using some AI and some other intelligence on our system, we can rank the probability of those and quantify those opportunities for the MSP. So it's not just a matter of knowing that ABC company and XYZ widgets isn't buying SaaS backup from me or security awareness training, if we want to go with a security tool. It's knowing, hey, that's actually worth $3,200 a year in profit to me. And actually, that's just 2 clients. Here's all of the clients for certain. And here's the total value of that. But then being able to come back and say, these are your most probable clients to buy that from you. And as the system learns and gets more history with the MSP, we're able to track things like adoption rates on average and timelines and retentions and average profitability and all of that stuff. And with the collective group and information in the system, there's this future in this, I'd say not too distant future, an ability for, any MSP to be in here and say, you know what, I'm thinking of offering a service in this category. Right. And maybe they were at a conference, bumped into somebody and said, okay, hey, how would I categorize that? And maybe that is, I don't know, security awareness training's on the mind. I think I just saw 15 companies for that at the last event I was at. But, maybe it's that, and they can go and say, okay, I want to go into security, and then I want to go to security awareness training. And this is going to do a predictive analytic to say, we know what your average adoption rates are. We know who your clients are, how big your clients are by other things that they're purchasing from you. And we know, because of the wealth of other information in our system, what the average cost and the average resale is of that service and subcategory. So we can now come in and say, if you have a 30% average adoption rate, and we know those pricings and we know the size of your clients, we can say, this is exactly the revenue and profit that this service is worth to you. Right. And then from there, we can help them understand these are the top clients to approach for it immediately, because they're the most probable ones to adopt it from you.
And I mean, that is really a key part that until now has had to be done manually. Plus, you didn't have the outside information that you guys can provide. Now, you used a word that I'm going to pick up on. You used the word learning.
Yes.
And so I'm assuming then that this means that there's some type of AI behind this.
Absolutely. Yep. Definitely is. So
Okay.
we're able to work with a lot of it. Don't want to give too many secrets away of how we do it all.
Fair.
But yeah, there is this component where it starts to understand and see those trends, and a lot of it's based on the ongoing performance of the MSP, right? We can only start from a point in time, so we can't connect and say, oh, this is what your full historical performance has been. But over time, as it sees, this is what the average adoption is at this point in time. Here's how that changes and fluxes over time. Hey, we've added a new service or a few new services. Here's how long it took us to get to adoption rates and things of that nature. It's very well informed to be able to use its past, observed performance to indicate future performance and opportunity.
So does it give you an idea of what the adoption rate might be over time? Because we know that there's early adopters, there's early majority, there's late majority. Do you kind of break it up into that curve so that you can forecast near term, midterm, long term?
Yeah, so that's how a lot of the probability stuff works with it, right? Is it says, okay, here's your most adopted or highest saturated clients, right? And then it looks at, okay, for the last few services you brought in, here's the ones that have bought within a 1 month period, within a 3 month period, within whatever period, and starts to rank those and again, quantify all of that for them. The other interesting thing is it's able to, start to understand not necessarily what's being sold straight in an actual packaged bundle yet, but it can see the consistencies in the similar services that are, attached to various clients. And so as it watches stuff like that, it can start to make recommendations on increasing the profit margin and increasing the adoption of a service based on, if you package these three together, when these three are sold together, we see an increased adoption rate in general, and we see an increased value point where you can charge a higher price in total for those three instead of just individually.
And I would bet that another thing that you can do with this is you can actually see with a lot more detail than we used to be able to with just a PSA, which customers are your best customers, not just based on profit, but based on other types of metrics as well.
Yeah, so we'll dig in here and be able to show a lot of this stuff. And it's,
okay,
in some cases, some of the stuff that you'll see tonight are things that you've had access to and seen before. The two caveats that I would put on that are, number one, you've never seen it with this level of accuracy and this level of real time and at a moment's notice. And two, I'd say it in connection to the other things that you show helps you make much more informed decisions, because sometimes data in one context is very conflicting to another context. So breaking out that siloed view of what you're looking at and how that works.
Awesome. So are you ready to go ahead and bring up the screen?
I am ready to do so.
Okay. And I'll go ahead and use this opportunity while you're doing that to just let people know that you can put questions in the chat. Go ahead and let us know you're here. Let us know where you're from. Because by the way, those people who have entered, any kind of message in the chat tonight are going to be entered in to win the giveaway. And I've changed the giveaway up a little bit tonight, although I forgot to create a slide on it. So you'll have to forgive me. And I didn't announce it at the beginning of the show. But the giveaway tonight is for your choice of the new pumpkin plan for MSPs, or Prospect and the Other P Word, or Carl Palachuk's book, Managed Services in a Month. So you get your pick, because chances are, if you've been doing this a while, you have at least one of those. That's why I'm giving you the option. So go ahead and comment, and the comment will put you in the drawing for the book later on in the show.
I'm pretty sure I have all of those three on my shelf over here. All right, so I'll walk you through a few things just in general first, right? So, some quick information. People are asking, what's StackTracker, right? It's all about, most of the solutions, most of the advice, most of the guidance that's available on the market today for MSPs is a one-size-fits-all approach, right? It's completely ignorant and at no fault, because it's been very difficult to do, but it's ignorant of things of how big is your MSP, what stage is your MSP at, what geography are you in, what's your vertical focus, what's the stack that you're running, what are your specializations, things like that. So StackTracker was built to be able to look at your data with how you work and what you offer and you do, and give you the best, most tailored and customized recipe for success that helps your business grow. And we'll walk through a whole bunch of stuff here, but here's a few of the features and kind of outcomes of things that you can do across the board. Highlighting a few times, like we said, real-time data. You've got your vendor spend tracking, earnings tracking, the stack gaps that will show and explain some of that stuff to you. Some product coverage radar, contract compliance is something we'll show. Your cost control, a whole lot of things that you can use this for. What's very important to us and has been from the outset is data portability. Too long and something that not just us, but you're seeing a lot of other people come up in the industry talking about is how siloed data has gotten in our industry. We're firm believers that data is the property of the MSP and they need to be able to pull it out. So, at any time, we don't want to have a situation where you're only with Gradient and using StackTracker because the data is in there and you can't get it out. So part of the beauty of this is not only are we collecting and aggregating all of this information for you on your business and performance, we let you take that with you wherever you want to go at any time. You don't have to put in a support request. You don't have to do anything else. You can take it and use it wherever you want. So that was really important to us.
That's really important to the industry as a whole, right? That's the way vendors should behave, because gone are the days when you can hold data hostage, right?
Yeah.
It's just not the way to do business anymore.
No, absolutely not. I mean, it's something that's become a status quo, but I mean, again, the business should stay with you on the merits of the value that you deliver and the quality of the solution, and we're very confident in that. But we also recognize this data has a million different types of applications. And again, part of us delivering value is letting you take that data and put it into these other things that you want to do it. We're not going to integrate with every single billing system out there. So we may as well let you export this and import it into your accounting package or your other PSA or some other solution that you use for invoicing and billing. Doesn't make sense for us to encumber the amount of value you can get from what we do for you.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it goes on. We've been fortunate with timing of various reports and research out there. I'm going to hide my mug there for a second, but Enable's MSP Horizon report they just put out talked about what MSPs are looking for on this advent and hype around AI today. And one is better use of customer data. Next is to build lead generation dashboards and help them improve their customer profiles. And the third is to see what tools and services may be missing from customers. That wasn't more well suited. I wish we could say we paid Enable. We did not. They had no idea what we're working on, but it was awesome. They put that report out. And then, you have Kaseya's report and technology reseller coverage saying the top challenge MSPs face is customer acquisition. When you boil it down, it's really just growth, right? They frame it as customer acquisition because, hey, that is challenging to do. But with all the MSPs, we were talking before the show, we're well over 100 MSPs on the wait list here for StackTracker already. And in the early conversations we're having, there's one theme that has stood true. And when we get on the phone with the MSPs, we say, hey, what are your ambitions for growth and what are your goals for growth this year? And everybody has a goal for what their growth is. Next question is, what's your plan to achieve that growth? Dead silence, radio silence on the other end of the phone. Like we're literally tapping and saying, are you still there? Because nobody has a plan. They have a goal in mind, but they don't have that plan on how they're going to achieve it. That's where StackTracker comes in. Currently, StackTracker supports Data Autotask and ConnectWise Manage, or PSA, and then just about every single distribution company in the channel, tons of the most popular vendors and names that I'm sure you see here, plus some 40 others with an ability to connect absolutely any system with an API to StackTracker as well through our custom integrations system, our SDK, and our API. So should we jump on in and take a look at what this Data Explorer is like and everything?
Sure. Let me take a second to recognize a couple of people who have commented. So we have Chuck Zimzak, who we all know and love, listening from Apex, North Carolina. And then we have Thiago. It's too small. I can't read it. And he says, we're about to see MSPs ask themselves how they could make decisions without seeing these stats and insights. So this is mind-blowing.
Yeah. It's, I'll tell you, if you've seen any of the videos from some of the MSPs that shared them with us to put out in our marketing, it's been nothing short of game-changing for them and how they've looked at their business and approached it. And that ranges from very large to very small. Now, if you've seen our synthesized product, I'm biased. I'd say it's one of the most beautiful softwares in the industry, but you'll notice a lot of similarities because if you got something that works, visually and UI UX wise, don't break it, right? And don't try to fix it. So a lot of similarities there from an intuitive standpoint. But here's your initial view. So we've got all the integrations are hooked up, all your data is flowing into the system. Sync status is green. Is going to do every time, we do daily syncs, I believe. And every single time you log into the platform, it does a real-time sync across all of your services. So when you're looking at this, you're looking at right now's, information. Unlike if you go to do some of the things I'm going to show you tonight, if you go to do that today, you're spending hours, if not days, if not in some cases weeks, going to all of your different vendor portals, getting all of your usage exports or summary details, compiling all of those into one spreadsheet and trying to column match and do all of that stuff, get rid of all your duplications, get rid of all the other stuff, and then pull it. How out of date is that information now from changes that have already happened at your clients, services that they've bought, services that have turned off, conversations your sales team's already had? It's a challenge, right? But here we go, is this is what we get. And at first it looks like just a bunch of data on a screen. But what's amazing about how we do this, so first of all, we can tell you, hey, here's your service revenue, and we are, currency specific. So you can choose your currency from anywhere in the world. And actually, I think even crypto might be in here as a bit of an Easter egg. But we tell you what your total vendor cost is and then what your total profit. So there are some other solutions on the market that can track and do some vendor spend and vendor spend analysis, and that stuff's amazing. And some of the other things that they do is awesome and amazing too. This is kind of just a byproduct of all the data that we're able to collect and show things on. So, we'll walk through a few use cases. First thing I'll show you, again, we chatted about data portability before. Boom, right up top, export to CSV. All of this data, and this one has probably a couple thousand rows of clients and services and everything else that are being sold to. Export that, you got it in less than a minute. Boom, it's there. You take that wherever you want to go, wherever you want to have it, it's done for you. And you can do that as many times as you want, as many times as you need. Here I can go and right now in flat format, not a ton of stuff I can interpret immediately from it. But if we go to a few things, so let's talk through a few use cases here. We've got a standard, I don't know if you want to call it a concept, a myth, a feeling, a sentiment, whatever, that the average MSP is running 3 to 5 different backup vendors or products across their customer base today. From what they've inherited, what they've deployed, what's already out there, what they've switched to, all of these different things. Well, we've never really been able to quantify the value in consolidation. And sometimes we don't even know how everything's performing because as an MSP, and I was the same way, we looked at what's our total revenue and profit as a business, and then what's each client paying me and profiting. Never borrowing down to or burrowing down to the category level, and definitely not to the product level. So if I wanted to come in here and do group by, I can choose that I want to group by category, and then I want to group by vendor, right? And immediately I've got all this done. Interestingly, let's sort by profit. Where do I make my most money here? Continuity is my number one money maker. And I'd say that's probably going to be fairly consistent for most MSPs, right? A close second is infrastructure stuff here, but look at the vendor cost different when it comes to it, right?
Right.
So now if I go into continuity, I see in this MSP's example, what is it? 5 places that I'm buying backup software from, right? And, with Datto SaaS Protection and BCDR, we categorize those different because they are unique products, even though it's the same company. But in essence, we've got 5 different solutions we're running out there. Now, we've already sorted by profit, so we can see, hey, for this MSP, and this is by no means any type of endorsement or anything else, it's just demo data, people. We can see that Cove Data Protection appears to be where we're making the most profit today. And when we look at the quantity or volume that we're doing with them at that profitability compared to, let's say, Datto BCDR in this case, there's a significant difference there, right? Now, if we went and, shortly we will also have a column in here that shows the margin, the average margin percentage there, but you can quickly see where you're making money. Now, this is go ahead, Eric.
Well, I was just going to ask because you and I were both MSPs back in our past, back in the day when we used to create a spreadsheet with all of our products across one side and all of our clients down the other, and we'd see what our adoption was across all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So are you telling me that I can come in here now and see what all my backup vendors are and then drill down further to see if I have customers in some of those other backup solutions and which ones I may want to look at moving up to the more profitable one?
Absolutely. So we could come in here and we can see these are all the customers buying using Datto BCDR from us, because I just added another grouping. I'd like to see any spreadsheet do this, by the way. But anyways.
Well, if you like pivot tables.
And then I come into Cove Data Protection. These are all the clients using that. I'm going to come here and I'm just going to back out the account. But if I come back in here and I see again, I can see all of the detail in there and everything else. But again, I can see how much volume I'm doing. Now, what behooves me is while this one looks like the most profitable right now, what behooves me is to look up here. I've got 14,222 units in total quantity across backup, right? I should be calling each one of these companies as an MSP and a partner of theirs to say, if I was at this volume with you, what would my margin be? Because I know it's going to be better than what you're giving me right now.
Yep.
Right? And you wait, you see what the best offers are. You make a decision around how much effort it's going to be, right? Like you've got a lot of deployment here with Datto. It could be a lot of effort to move that over and do changes with it. But hey, immediately you've got this massive profit gain opportunity simply by consolidating it, not even looking at your certifications for your technicians and knowing how to use all those systems, having to track and manage different credentials for all of those different partner portals, going into your documentation system to see which backup software do they use, and then getting that information and getting in and doing it. This is just straight for what you're already delivering, tangible profit gain for your business, right? Yep. Full stop.
Now, we have a question from the audience real quick, and it pertains to this. It says they joined late. They're a Facebook user, and of course, we don't get the name when it comes over from Facebook. You may have already covered. What about bundle delivery where the price isn't necessary per line item? Do you have a way of breaking out?
Yeah, so we do. So part of the configuration here is a bit of a survey-based system with the MSP as it's being set up. So as we configure all the integrations, as all the products come in, what we ask you is, hey, what's your average cost per unit for each of these services? And you plug that in. And then we ask you, even if it's part of a bundle, what's your average resale price for this? So if you have a bundle that you're charging, whatever, $150, $300 a month for, and you look at what portion of that $300 do you consider SaaS backup or that service, give us that number, so that absolutely, regardless or irrespective of what you're bundling today, we can still track how much money you're making off that actual service and what your margin is on it, right? There is some stuff coming down the pipe, and when I say we are running fast, we are running very fast on this solution. So new features, new functionality, new services is coming pretty much weekly right now. This is not something we're measuring in months. But yeah, there will be coming down the line the ability to identify which services are bundled, and sometimes the same service could be in numerous bundles, understanding what the bundle price is for that and assigning a weighting to the various services, but being able to track and manage some of the things this way. But still an ability to see some of that stuff. But you bring up, bundles in particular. I mean, we're able to start to see what each account is doing. So if I go back to none here and I want to come through and say, go by account and then group by service, right? And we're already sorted by profit here. So if I wanted to come into, these guys are a huge one. Let's go to somebody a little bit smaller here. So we can see with Floston Paradise Hotel, this is all of the services that they're consuming, right? So we could start to see, if we wanted to group various services together, see which clients these are all the same at, right? So we can start to see all the different things that they're consuming. We can sort by profit to see which is driving the most profit in each account. We can also see how much that client is costing us from a straight vendor perspective, right? So now when you're looking at to that previous individual's comment, how often have you been able to look in and see, if ever, what a client actually costs you when you're doing a bundled thing? You do generally know, you can pull your time report of how many minutes or hours your technician spent on that, what my wages are, and all of that fun math. But then when it comes down to all of the other services, how many times, Eric, have we talked about cost up approach and pricing and everything else? What is each client actually costing you? Right. And so being able to see right here on the resale side, it cost me $27,000 to deliver the services, not technical and consulting and support and everything else. Hard cost of goods sold is what it cost me to service this client. And I can look at every single client, right? Now I'm able to start getting a good understanding of what each client is worth to me, right? Who really should have the most attention, how much it's costing me, and all of that type of stuff. We talk about, vendor bills all the time, right? And we've worked at companies, we've run companies before that have had billing challenges. It's, I'd say for any vendor, I'd say we all agree we all have sucked at billing at some point, if not right now, right? Well, if you're trying to figure out what your bill should be or how accurate it is, we'll go back and kind of clear out the grouping stuff. But if I come here and I group by vendor, and then maybe I'll group by service, because so many, with all the consolidation happening out there, we recognize and know that you're generally consuming more than one service from any vendor these days. So, if we sort by, say, revenue or even by vendor cost here, I can come in, I can see all the stuff that's happening here. So actually, I'm going to redo this so that we got distribution, right? PAX 8, familiar name in the industry. I can now come in here and I can see what each service that I'm buying from PAX 8 is costing me, right? And I can understand exactly what that bill should be. So if I get my bill from any vendor at the end of the month, but let's say PAX 8, I think they're generally pretty good. It's one of the best things about them knowing their stuff. But let's say, right? So if I get that bill, and this is a larger MSP, obviously, on this, there's very few people that are doing almost, just over $250,000 in service revenue a month. But we wanted to show the speed that we can operate at with great data and the complexity. So, if I'm spending 250K almost a month with Pax 8, I should get that bill and see and make sure that that's pretty close. And if it's not, now I can go line by line to see what it is, right?
Well, and the thing here is you're pulling this up instantly, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is data that before took a lot of work to compile.
Oh, in some cases, especially in MSP of this size, weeks to get, right? And MSPs of that size in particular are so active and so dynamic in what's being sold and new clients coming on and services changing and everything else that it's impossible to stay on top of. So we can show some of that stuff. We can also, again, if we sort by, we go back to an account and service. Again, if I come in here and I go to Twin Pines Mall, I know everything that they're selling, but I also know what each of those services at that client is worth to me in profit, right? And I know what I'm doing in revenue with that. So I can, again, see at a moment's notice everything. I can also see everything that this client is consuming, right? If I want to back that out and get rid of service and go to unit type, we talk about contract compliance a lot, and you would have seen that over on the other screen that I showed there of some of the features that we do is contract compliance. So if I sort by quantities now, and I've got account by unit type, I'll look at a couple of clients here. So, one in particular that I know for sure will go the way that I need it to, if I can see them. Oh, Springfield Nuclear Power Plant, right? I come in here. Now I'm sorted by unit type. Here's what I mean by contract compliance. If I look at everything that I sell by device, 131, 131, 131, 131, 131, we're fully deployed on those services consistently at that client for devices. Let's go into per users, 131 across the board for everything that we're selling this client now, right? Pretty interesting here. This is all good. We should be in a good state. We're properly deployed. We don't have to worry about anything. Now, one thing I did notice there when I opened this up, very interesting actually. We've got Rocket Cyber, Cybersecurity MDR, and Sentinel-1 Cybersecurity XDR. Essentially the same thing, different letter, but XDR generally includes MDR in it these days. So we're double deployed at this client. We probably switched from one of those to the other, whether maybe it was product quality, a different deal, whatever else, but we've just identified that we're double deployed here. So now we can go back and look up and see like, hey, which one is this client supposed to be having? Or we might want to check another client. Let's hop up to Marty's hoverboard repair. You might see some familiar names and some fun stuff here. Okay, let's go back to devices here. Interesting, double deployed at this client as well, right? So what we might have now is maybe we switch to Rocket Cyber from Sentinel-1 or to Sentinel-1 from Rocket Cyber, and our technicians did a great job deploying. We haven't removed and decommissioned all the other stuff. So while we're not billing the client for that, I guarantee you're still bearing the cost burden of that, right? So we've just identified that as a double deployed service for you. What else I know now by jumping into Marty's hoverboard repair is we've got 23, 23, 22, 22. So we're either over deployed on these ones or under deployed on this, right? And we can go back into users and see, okay, same thing. We've got more at 22 here, 23 here. I think we're over deployed. We can save some money here now. So we're able to see all of these things immediately at a moment's notice to just show what's happening, help you understand, save money from overspend, be in control of your costs, tune your business to profitability, all in, virtually an instant, being able to see this stuff.
Now, I've got an interesting question from the group. It says, it would be awesome if it could be by date, since many vendors bill on consumption the following month, so we could validate billing on a particular date.
Mm-hmm.
And even with like high watermark, like some vendors do, and like Bitdefender, I guess, is one. This is a lot of data for you guys to store historically.
It is. But at the same time, it's valuable. So this is one of the things that we're working on, where, as I said, we do frequent scans and pulls of the information. As we get into some of the dashboarding stuff that, we will have fully done, you would essentially be able to check back to a specific date or a specific time frame for you to be able to look at and report on. So that is stuff that's coming, and
Okay.
stuff that will come down the line. Now, I think I've shown in here just about everything that I was gonna show. Um, gee, thanks, Taylor Swift. Um, what we can do here for some of the nerds in the audience, because I am one too, dark mode, right? We don't have to wait till May 5th. You get it whenever you want. It's all in there. But some of the other things that we do, you probably saw some things on the list of features that you're like, hey, I haven't seen that yet. And one of those things might be stack gaps, right? So we talked about, being able to understand what's not being sold, right? Well, when we have all of this information here and we know every single service that is being sold and consumed on a recurring basis from your business, and we know every single client that is consuming at least one of those services, we are now able to flip that all on its head and inverse it and tell you every single thing that every client is not buying from you. What's better than that is we can quantify it because we know similar unit types and quantities and things like that of the other products or services that a client buys from you. And we know what your average cost, what your average resale price is. We can quantify every single one of those opportunities for you. And we can break that up in a way that helps you, again, understand where your best opportunities are. So to start, you're able to get a full export of everything. So this is, again, against the same MSP. You now have all of this information of every single service that's not being consumed by a client, and then what the value is to you in what our calculated average is based off of other things, what your unit profit, total cost, total profit, everything else there. Now, this is for you to be able to cut up, slice up however you want, right? But this isn't a product that's just about slamming more data at you and saying, here you go, good luck, right? One of the MSPs that we spoke to as we were working on this had an amazing quote. And he said that MSPs are data rich but insight poor. Well, we wanted to be able to solve some of that. So we wanted to be able to provide you with the insight, with the recommendations to tell you, WTF do I do with all of this? And that's where our reseller growth intelligence report comes in. So on a monthly basis, we're able to give you this and do a full analysis of your business. Now, this is where the rubber really hits the road for MSPs. So there is some disclaimer in there and everything else because it's based on what we can see about your business. We don't know absolutely everything about your business, but what we do is we start to give you in with some of this AI-based stuff an executive summary. We can tell you some of the most notable things across the categories in our analysis of what's happened. You've had a 40% profit increase in security and a 50% profit increase in backup, probably taking some of the previous month recommendations from us or previous quarters recommendations. And it starts to talk about the trends that it sees and some of the analysis around that. It talks about, hey, we've identified that in the last 6 months, you've added 2 new products to your catalog. Here's what that initial contribution was when you turned them on, and here's where it got to after 6 months, right? Here's what your increase is in the security category and what your backup stuff has happened as well. So we're able to give all of that information to show you, hey, good job, things are working, or maybe quickly identify something that started to trend the other way. The next is just some of the notable changes and improvements. Now, you wanted charts, you get charts. Everybody likes pretty charts, but some of it's what to do with it, right? And some of it's showing things that you haven't necessarily seen before in a way you haven't seen them. So again, since we categorize all of the products that are connected in the system, we're able to start painting pictures of radar and show what's happening coverage-wise. So in this one is profit and revenue. Now I can see that I'm making a lot of money and revenue on continuity and infrastructure here. And profit's interesting, right? It almost looks like pretty even for drastic spend. So that's pretty interesting. What's even more interesting is I'm actually not making a ton of revenue and profit on security or on productivity in contrast to all of that. Pretty interesting. Now, if I go down one more page and I start looking at the amount of services that I have on my line card per product category, I'm seeing a mismatch here. I have a ton of security products on my line card, but scrolling back up, not making a lot of money here. So probably somewhere that I need to start putting focus, because I'm pretty well covered in continuity and infrastructure. And as we already saw on the other thing I saw, I've got major profit opportunity just by consolidating those services. Right now, here's some stuff you maybe have seen, maybe you haven't, probably not by product category, but starts to show you your revenue, cost, and profit by category visualized. For you to see it in a table or a list isn't going to tell you the same things as when it's graphically represented for you, and some things can stand out. Nothing super glaringly obvious here. But now here's where the stack gaps comes in, and that inverse table. We're now able to quantify and show you your revenue opportunity by product category. Now, this is something you haven't seen before. I now see how whoppingly huge my opportunity still is in continuity. And surprisingly, security is not crazy because of the actual profitability of how I've set up my services on security, but we'll get back to that later. I have a massive continuity opportunity. So now if I come back here and I go and I break this down and I say, not select all, I just want to see continuity, good old Excel foo. Here I go. I've got all of them listed here and what the opportunity is across all of those, right? Know exactly.
And that's a list that you can actually give to your salespeople and say, here, go.
100%, right? Here's your clients or here's your products. Go nuts, right? But you can set your actionable tasks and work right off of it. Revenue opportunity by product subcategory. So we don't just stop at the category, we dig a little bit deeper, right? So now we've got straight disaster recovery, we've got cloud backup, file sync and share, all of these other things that you can quantify. Now, when it comes down to things, we'll gloss over some of that. That's just more cool charts that we could explain in detail if you really want to know about them, but just tells you really what your average client is paying you, what you're earning, and what it costs you for each of those categories with your top and bottom bookends. You can track your category performance over time. So not just watching and seeing how that radar chart morphs, but how is this actually contributing to your top line? Breaking down your top 10 services by profit. Again, very few MSPs look at things per product. We're taking it per product and then stack ranking it by profit, because that's, at the end of the day, all that matters for the MSP. It's not how much money you're charging, it's how much money you're making. Again, you can see the top 10. I can also see the bottom 10 right away. This is a challenge. I'm spending a whole lot of money on AWS storage. I ain't making any money on that. Is that worth it? Do I need to increase my prices? Do I need to renegotiate with AWS? What do I need to do here, right? And I can now make decisions on that. I can see on average what my adoption rate is of all of these services. Still kind of low, surprisingly. I know in most businesses, you won't launch a product unless you could get, as a platform strategy, unless you can hit 30% within about a year to 2 years penetration, right? We've got a lot of work to do, but we know which ones we need to pick up on the most right away. And then your top 10 service opportunities by profit. So again, I've got all of this information as to what service I'm selling that can contribute the most money to me. Now, I'll get through the trend there. Next is account performance, right? So we've looked at the products, we looked at everything else. What are your accounts worth to you? You can now see very quickly here how much money Umbrella Corporation and Springfield Nuclear Power Plant contribute to my bottom line, right? Massive. Pretty much the same as most of my other clients combined, right? You got your 80-20 rule. You maybe have a good inkling of who your top are. You may not if you haven't margin set things properly. But now you also know who your best clients are from an adoption standpoint. So who's adopting and using the most services from you in each of these categories. So these are probably generally your hottest clients to go and approach immediately for new product offerings. And the ones you should probably go be getting case studies and testimonials and stuff like that from. And in most cases, the ones that you need to worry the least about losing, right? When it comes to, when I talk to MSPs, what their number one thing is that they lose sleep over? Losing clients at night, right? Well, not losing them at night, losing sleep at night.
Losing them at all, yeah.
Losing your clients, right? That's the problem. Well, much like we've done before, these are your top 10 adopted accounts. Here's your bottom 10 adopted accounts, right? And you may know that, you may not, right? If you think about it, now I'm not going to look at them all and go back through everything, but let's say, MetaCortex software could be one of my top revenue accounts, right? And I may make decent profit on them, but I also know that they're only consuming, 20 different things. And this could be different SKUs with Microsoft and everything else, all weaved in there, but they're not consuming a lot of things. Or Tyrell Corporation may be a better one. 10 things they're consuming from me across monitoring and infrastructure. So I might make a lot of money at them. I need to get more adoption in here and give them more attention because they're a high-risk client to me. Any other MSP could come knocking. They could look at things and what's that attachment? I don't have many reasons not to leave, right? Yeah. All I got to do here is probably just go to somebody else who can offer me monitoring and host my infrastructure stuff somewhere. Easy peasy. Very different from somebody that I've got continuity across security solutions, productivity, monitoring, right? Heavy coverage, saturation point. Just taking a look at time because we're getting down to
we're getting up there,
right? But here's your greatest account opportunities for profit. Now you've never seen this before, right? So I can come in and I can look and am I likely to go into Springfield nuclear power plant and try to sell them, whatever this total amount is here, some $170,000 worth of stuff? No, probably not. But I could look at selling them some infrastructure stuff, or I could look at increasing their continuity spend with us. I might see that InGen Biotech doesn't seem as a single account to have a whole lot. I have 41K here or 22K in continuity, right? Those are some big hits. Continuity of 56K with Wayne Enterprises. Bruce likes to make sure he's backed up, right? We haven't sold them on it yet, but we can see and quantify all of these things right away, knowing, again, take this, go to your sales team and be like, hey, go talk to Wayne Enterprises about continuity. In fact, go to all of these clients and talk to them about continuity. Don't need to go full spread. Go and run that campaign. You could also go and sort your data a different way and see who are the clients to get the best testimonials from for continuity with you. And then just your top 5 accounts revenue over time so you can see stuff. Here's where things get more cool now. Vendor performance. I can see immediately, we already know I'm spending a lot of money with PAX 8. I can see that, yeah, this is great. I'm making a lot of profit with PAX 8. I can also see how that spreads through the rest of my vendor mix, right? So I know where, hey, you know what? Well, this is why maybe Duo Security doesn't pay a lot of attention to me. I'm not paying them any money. I know my worth to all of these companies now, though, as well. Yep. I know what my spend is with them. I know what my volume is with them, right? Helps you inform your conversations with them. This is my favorite one here. So we talked earlier, I showed the continuity example, right? We saw how everything is. Now, maybe I didn't see it quite like that, but if I'm looking at this, and if I wanted to trim this down to just continuity, I can see 25% average margin with Datto, 25% average margin with Acronis. Now in SaaS protection with Datto, I do better at 57%. But if I keep going down the line with Cove by Enable in this MSP's instance with this demo data, no endorsement, these are just things on the screen, 67% margin, right? So I could look at simply moving all the volume of my Acronis and Datto BCDR and even Datto SaaS protection to Cove and know I'm going to get that immediate bump, or I can renegotiate with all of them, right? Knowing what I can get and figure out the right deal. Again, massive gains and things. Then we can show you your vendor revenue growth over time. Here's where it gets cooler.
It gets cooler?
Even cooler, right? Is now here's your AI recommendations. So we've digested, we've looked at all this information, we've cross-cut it over, correlated things and looked at how everything comes together. And we break recommendations up into 2 things. 1, improve profitability on stuff you've already sold. And 2, tell you where your greatest opportunities are of things you haven't sold to who, right? So I know in total, this MSP has $10,000 and $250 per month in potential profit increase in total. Over 6,000 of that is just on improving and tuning my profit on things I've already sold, right? Consolidation of cybersecurity solutions to your highest margin vendors. If these guys offer a similar service because the category is the same, right? And SonicWall is showing a higher profit margin, consolidate it. Noting a 10% higher margin and a shift of 20K in sales to SonicWall, $2,000 increase, right? Negotiate better terms with that Datto BCDR. A 5% increase gives you $500 a month. We already know that's not a super profitable business line for this MSP right now at that scale, what they're doing, right? But you have your tiered pricing for bulk consumption suggestions. We see some of the larger clients haven't bought certain services like the security awareness training that you're doing. Hey, if you drop the price, you can increase your margin and your total revenue and everything else, gain profits of $1,400, right? So this just goes on and on and on, telling you all these things you can do to tune your profit this month, right? And some of it maybe is going to take more than a month to do, but now that you've got this massive opportunity targeting your high value clients with security packages. Here's what you can bundle together. Boom, sell it. Backup solutions awareness campaign looks at 30% targeted clients, yields, and everything else. It just goes through it all to show you all of the ways that you can be tuning and making more profit.
Well, Colin, showing the graphs, showing the data is one thing. Showing graphs is another, because you can interpret the data for yourself. But then actually going and providing the recommendations.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this and I'm going, with one product, you've hired a data team and a strategic leadership team all at the same time. And this can be used at an MSP that may not have anything but an owner and a few technicians.
And your administrator to collect all the information to give those people, right?
Right.
No, it's MSPs are so ripe for profit. They don't have the instructions of what to do and how to get it, right?
Right.
And giving them that actionable set of recommendations or direction or everything else, even if you only took one of those and you're increasing your profit by $2,000 a month, that can be the difference between profitability and not profitable, right? And that, at the end of the day, is all that we want to deliver for MSPs is profit.
Awesome. Well, Colin, I really appreciate you being here tonight. I'm going to go ahead and put you, well, actually, do you have any last words before I let you go?
If you look at what we're building, if you look at where we're going and the wealth of opportunity that exists in this, it's the only thing that I would say is where MSPs are focusing today, right? I read all the Reddit, I read all of the stuff that goes on in the various Facebook groups and everything else. And I can guarantee you that success as an MSP is not going to be determined by how fast you respond to your service tickets, how many things you automate, and which vendors you do underpin your service offerings. What it's going to come down to is making the right decisions at the earliest possible time and capturing your maximum opportunity. And that's what we're trying to deliver here.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Colin. I'll be back to you in just a minute.
Sounds good. Thanks, Eric.
Hey, everybody. Thanks again for joining us tonight. Before we end tonight, though, I do want to do our drawing. Let's try this. Last week, we had a couple of issues with it. All right. Let me go ahead and see if I can share this, because that's the problem we had last time. I want to share an entire screen. All right. Share. Oh, there we go. Okay. We got it to work. Let's do the drawing. And I can't be the winner. See if we can do this again. All right, there we go. So Johnny M, you are the winner tonight. Congratulations. Just DM me or comment, or just reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook, or you can message me on YouTube, because that's where you're watching from. Just let me know. And as long as you're within the North America region, I will go ahead and get that book out to you. All right. With that, let me go ahead and change back to there. Again, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us tonight. We really do appreciate it. It means so much. And Colin, great product. Can't wait to see this, see what actual MSPs are getting out of this in the near future. So thanks again for having us. And we will see you on the next live stream. See you later.